Who is better, Lyn or Ike? In this video, I'm going to break down this discussion as well as some nuanced points between the power disparity of these emblems as well as what they generally want to do. So let's jump into this pop. Everyone knows it. Ike can tank, right? But what if I told you Ike could tank without getting broken? So let me introduce you to the Marin tank. So the Marin tank is an Ike build that uses Steel Dagger, and she just chills out here. Now all these dudes will attack her, none of them will break her, so it's kind of like a general in a way, but she's insanely fast. She is running Gentility, so what I need to do is have my Erica unit engage as well. So now she gets Bravery, so she takes less damage and she deals more damage. None of these enemies will double her, she'll double all of them. She might not one-run them outright, but she can at the very least put good damage on them, and if she crits, she kills them. So here's like a textbook case of like Ike tanking, right? Now this is a new build, but it's a pretty good build. It kills mages and archers consistently, and it usually one-rounds other things. As she takes damage, her crit rate goes up. This is actually a build I discovered just from like playtesting and goofing off. So if she gets a crit, she'll kill this, but she doesn't. Okay, there's a crit. Her crit rate will go up once she gets to Wrath's cap. So as these attack, her crit rate is steadily going up, increasing the odds that she gets a single crit. Now there are Ike builds that just one-shot, like Ike general builds, there's Ike Tamara build, there's Ike Getsu build, there's tons of Ike builds, right? But the general theme of an Ike build is extreme damage mitigation combined with enemy phasing and killing a lot of things. So in this case, she's just wiping the floor with this entire flank by herself just on Ike. And this is why I think Ike is the superior emblem in general, because you can just kill everything that attacks you and tank most things, if not everything. So she's killed, I don't know, all these, we'll see exactly how many enemies she's killed. But this is the power of Ike. This is why I put Ike in God tier. It's for this exact reason. There's so many different builds and classes and units that can leverage this specific, like, tanking, that it puts Ike in a tier of his own. Or at least with other God tier emblems. Now I do think Lyn is S tier. Alright, so she didn't get a crit there, didn't kill. Let's see if she can tank these without getting healed. Let's just see. She'll definitely kill this. That's just to remove some incoming damage. She could just elixir and then enemy phase all the things she can deal damage to. She might deal, yeah, she does chip to these. She just put poison on them. So it's something. Now you can use a Mage Knight Ike build. Like that's a thing. You can do that. Alright, now let me pull up my list here. She almost killed that. She got 2 crits and almost killed that. Alright, where is it? Just had it. Here we go. Alright, Ike versus Lyn. Look at this. She's like, if she survives this without getting healed, that's insane. She might too. They double her though, somehow. She keeps critting though. 56 crit rate's no joke. If you double and you have 50 crit rate, that's like 75% chance to see it. Let's see if she crits here again. Okay, she's dead now. Alright, so she killed a lot of enemies. She killed a ton of enemies there. If she would have healed, she'd survive that. So Ike can easily enable enemy phasing from a single unit at any time, has multiple builds and units that can make good use of him, can 1 to 2 range at kill on enemy phase with various units, can Great Aether with great weapons to multi-kill. So if you're running like a general Ike build with Silver Great Lance or Silver Great Axe, you can use Great Aether, and as enemies roll up around that Ike unit, you can kill a ton of them with, you know, a single Great Aether and then player phase one-shot things. You can do this on Lyn too, but you don't have the Great Aether. Can tank with Resolve, Great Aether, Ragnell, and Laga's Friend, all of which increase defense and tanking to some degree. I'm not paying attention to these other units. He can be used on a unit to increase their durability, stat increases to strength, defense, and HP. Alright, I'm not saying Lyn is bad. I do think Ike is better, but I don't think Lyn is bad. Lyn, I would say, is like an S tier thing. Alright, so let's go back. Let's pulse. First, let's see how many units we've killed. from just a single unit existing. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So she killed 15 enemies before she died without getting healed. And she could have killed more if she just had an elixir on her. That is the power of Ike. And this team is on chapter 21, and you unlock this paralog on like after chapter 19. So we're not even over leveled for this. So this is just the power of Ike, right? Like she killed 15 units before dying. That's pretty, and she easily could have survived if she would have caught a physic, a heal from another unit, or used an elixir. So that is the power of Ike. Ike can literally solo some maps. That's how good Ike is. She was even dealing damage to these, putting poison stacks on them and tanking them. She could even kill these armors. It would take longer, but if she just keeps rolling crits and putting poison on them, she would kill them eventually while tanking them. So this is a pretty cracked build, right? Like this Ike situation. All right, now let's talk about Lyn. So Lyn, you get Astra Storm, you get huge speed fixing, you get Alacrity plus for free, which can allow you to player phase very well. Astra Storm on Ivy is definitely not the best, but on coverts and on other units, or even just physical units, it can be quite good. There's a Radiant Bow Astra Storm thing that Sachin can use on some bosses to take off a health bar, for example. You can also Astra Storm some bosses at range to aggro them. So for example, let me see if I can Astra Storm Kaya. Now if you had a covert, you easily could. Alright, so I'd have to go in further. But I could Astra Storm Micaiah, and I'm pretty sure that aggroes her. It aggroes most bosses. So Covert Storm, Covert Astra Storm, or Astra. Is it even called Astra Storm? Is it just called Astra? Hold on. It is called Astra Storm. Alright, so Covert Astra Storm can aggro bosses, causing them to attack you, which can trivialize some maps. So that's why I put Lyn in S tier for the speed fixing, for the player phase initiating, so you don't take damage on Alacrity. So let's see if there's an enemy. All right, so if I attack this at point blank range, I kill him before he counterattacks. That's like one of the big advantages of Lyn. Now she's also good on units who need speed fixing. Some units don't need speed fixing. So like look at this Ivy, same level as that Marin, roughly speaking, 22 base speed. Now let's compare her to this Marin. Some units don't need speed fixing at all. 34 base speed on Wolf Knight. So some classes and some unit combinations do not need speed fixing. So this is why like Lyn I don't think is as flexible as Ike, because Ike can work on Tamara, I can work on Kagetsu, I can work on probably even Ivy to some degree. I can work on Pandreo, Anna, Chloe, Marin. Any unit that's fast, Ike can work on. And even units that aren't fast, Ike can work on. So he can work on pretty much every single unit in the game. So like you can have Ike Generals, you can have Ike like Wolf Knights, you can have an Ike Griffin Knight with sword power build. Now Lyn can speed fix anyone, this is true too. But speed fixing isn't as big of an issue if you already run fast units. Most units that are fast do not need Lyn to speed fix them, and they can get away with running other things. And if the idea is you're using Lyn to speed fix, that's fine. Like that's how I'm using Lyn in this case. But it's not the best thing in the game when there are units who don't need her at all. So I would put her in S tier for the Astra Storm. I think that's useful and relevant for pulling enemies, killing enemies, whatever. The doubles can be good for wasting enemy turns, dealing chip damage, improving the damage on player phase of the Lyn user. The Alacrity is good for initiating and not taking damage, so the unit doesn't need healed. So when you're attacking something that can counterattack, if you can kill it before it can counterattack after you double it, you won't get hit, and therefore you won't need healed. So that saves you some action economy, you know, so you don't have to have another unit heal you. But outside of that, she can't enemy phase as well. There is one build that someone in my Discord posted that's pretty hilarious, but it is technically a good Lyn enemy phase build, and that is Chloe General. So first of all, you have to want to run Chloe, which is fine because she's one of the best units in the game. But you have to want to run her on General specifically. So the build is speed plus 5. So Chloe has 20 speed at cap on General, which is higher than other units, which I think it's like 17 on other units. So she has higher speed at base. You run plus 5 speed on her. General has high defense. The res cap is 16, which is fine. It's not the best, but it's better than like, you know, 8 or something. And she has like high defense, high strength. She can double, so she gets speed plus 5 passive, plus 5 speed from Lyn. She's at base 30 speed. You have Speed Taker on Lyn. You kill 5 enemies, you're at 40 speed, so you have a doubling general that does not get broken, that can enemy phase. However, it does still have a weakness to mages, because some endgame mages are quite strong. Let's see if there's any on this map. Here's one. This is like a weaker endgame mage, but it still has 50 base magic, or 50 magic attack rather. Some endgame mages have like roughly 50 to 60 something magic attack, so even at 16 res, even at 20 res, you're taking 30 to 40 damage per magical unit hitting you. Now, if you're on Ike and you have that damage, and then factor in resolves plus 7 res, that significantly reduces the magical damage taken. So in the case of Marin, she's 23 res, then you take half damage. So she's taking, she took like 7 damage from this, maybe even less. She took almost nothing from this. So the problem with a Lyn general is still, you can get hit hard, but you get hit hard by magic because you're a general. But you do get high avoid from all the speed. So that can kind of counterbalance it. Some endgame mages are quite accurate though. This one is definitely not, but it kind of varies, right? So Lyn can't enemy phase as well. That's kind of what I'm getting to. Ike is kind of like this god tier thing that can just break the game easily. Lyn is just a really good emblem that's definitely above average and can do a lot and bring a lot to the table, but can't break the game. Pulling bosses is like as close as she gets to breaking the game, and as for enemy phase attack, like as for enemy phase tactics, just by herself, like if I were just to send a Lyn unit in alone, like the Ike unit, she can enable the Chloe general. There might be other builds, like maybe like Great Knight builds, that Lyn could enable by getting the speed up high enough so you double, and then you're just relying on, you know, units that have good res and defense growth and the bases of Great Knight. That might be a thing, but even so, like, mages are going to be a problem for it. Great Knight is faster than general, so that could help its base speed, but I do think if you're going to be trying to enemy phase on Lyn, you want a bonded shield. In this playthrough, I have bonded shield, but I don't use it. I use it infrequently because I'm on a hero. I don't rely on bonded shield in this playthrough at all. But if you do have a dedicated bonder, Lyn can be good for units, like, you know, to get their speed up so that they double consistently, so they one round. So Lyn plus Lucina, I would say, is god tier, but Lyn by herself is just like S tier, whereas Ike by himself, you just saw what it can do. And this is just one of many Ike builds. So soloing 15 enemies before dying, and if she would have had like a single elixir, she would have survived. She probably could solo this map, if I'm being honest. Like, that's how good it is. As long as she's engaged, that's how good it is. And even when you're not engaged, Resolve Plus still makes your defensive stats pretty crazy. Like, her defenses aren't even that good. 25 defense, 23 res, like, that's decent, but it's not, like, insane. But with Resolve Plus, you get plus 7 defense and res. If you equip Ragnell, you get plus 5 defense. If you equip Irvin, you get plus 3 res. If you use Great Aether, you get plus 5 defense and res. There's all these weird things you can do to increase your tanking. And then Great Aether also heals you, so like you can kind of send certain units off on their own. Ike also enables crit builds, so he enables Pinettes. Like, he enables so many things, it's crazy. And there's so many units that can leverage his kit. So I showed a really good use case of Ike, and now let's show a really good use case of Lyn. So all I need to do is send in Anna here, have her wait, then have Fram use Bonded Shield. Now obviously this is using a second unit to enable Lyn, and all Lyn is really doing here is giving Anna more speed, which could be achieved through other means. So this really isn't Lyn being the best thing here, because pretty much any Mage Knight here would double these armors. But here's an example of how Lyn can be used. Now, once you get the speed up high enough, she'll double anything that attacks her, assuming that the unit has at least like 30 or so speed, because then Lyn gives you plus 5 speed, and then you get more speed from each Speed Taker kill. You will need to get Speed Taker kills though, but this is just an example of really Lucina, but you could use a fast Lyn unit to enemy phase in this way, and this is what I did in my first blind run. I had an Ivy on Lyn, and I used Flying Squad Bonded Shield, and Ivy basically did this. But Anna without Lyn here, she would be doubling these enemies. So, and some units are fast enough, like Pandreo, Kagetsu, Marin. These units are fast enough that they don't need Lyn, they just need like Speed Plus, or maybe even just Speed Taker. Chloe, they can double without Lyn. So this is really a use case of, or showcase of Lucina. To wrap up, let's just have Tamara do some tanking here. Let's get as many things in on this as we can. She's just going to be on Javelin. Lyn is definitely one of the best emblems in the game. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Lyn is bad. I'm saying she's like S tier. However, I do think Ike is God tier. It enables a ton of builds. It enables weird units and weird things that shouldn't work but do. And it pretty much makes anyone really tanky. Lyn, however, does enable almost any unit to double. There are certain units that even with Lyn, they still struggle to double. And in the case of Ike versus Lyn, if I had to choose one, I'd rather have an Ike unit. It's not even close. Like, if I could only run one, it would definitely be Ike. Ike by itself can do a ton. Lyn by herself can do a lot, but not nearly as much. Unless you're doing warp skipping, Ike is definitely the better emblem because of the enemy phasing enabling. Now there are weird builds like that Chloe General, so if you want to run that, you can. But yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Feel free to drop a comment as to why you think Lyn or Ike is better. This is obviously for maddening mode, no DLC. I think that the fast units that can use Ike can put in more work, right? Whereas Lyn just kind of helps units double more consistently, which is useful, but there's other ways to do this. And there aren't other ways to create tanks that can just walk in and just kill everything. The thing that's good about Ike specifically is enemies will always attack you because they usually deal damage, right? Unless your defense is so high, everything will attack you. So the problem with like avoid tanks is that nothing attacks you. Bonded shield tanks obviously are really good. So that's like a similar thing that I would say is as good as Ike, but that's also why I put Lucina in God tier. But yeah, thanks for checking this out. Peace.